After careful consideration, Chen Yuan had already devised a countermeasure in his mind. Ever since the system enhanced me, I've always kept a low profile, never once flaunting my true strength. After all, Smoke CEO is already too famous. There's no need to turn into some kind of superhero only to end up being scrutinized, analyzed, and even studied by netizens. That's why I've always maintained a humble attitude, never showing off too much. But in reality, my stats are now absolutely terrifying. If I were to go all out, a single punch from me could generate a critical force of 5,000 Jin, and one kick could send a car flying dozens of meters. Chen Yuan thought to himself, and that's not even using my full strength, not to mention the 110 enhancement points I haven't even bothered to allocate yet. So there's no way I'd be foolish enough to show off. As a person, you must always keep a few tricks up your sleeve. True wisdom lies in knowing how to stay unpredictable, never letting anyone see all of your cards. Let them think I only have 5 layers, when in reality, I have 18. Stay calm, remain steady, and go all in when the time is right. That's the ultimate survival strategy. If Shuyun has Beichen Medicine King, then I have the Eastern Medicine Sage. Meticulously pondering, Chen Yuan swiftly darted his eyes around and came up with an idea more daring than anything imaginable. Without hesitation, he dashed into the dressing room, launching his plan to transform himself into an unparalleled, secluded sage. And to play the role of a secluded sage, one must first possess the appearance of a secluded sage. The attire had to be a traditional long robe, exuding an air of mystery and danger at first glance. The hairstyle needed to be free-spirited and unrestrained, flowing in the wind as if the entire world was insignificant before his overwhelming presence. An hour later, the dressing room door swung open. The figure standing before the mirror was no longer the Smoke CEO the world once knew, but rather an old master with silver hair and a flowing beard, draped in a long robe. His face bore the traces of age, yet carried an aura of authority, an ethereal grace, just like a seasoned cultivator who had spent centuries in seclusion, now descending the mountain to save the world. Chen Yuan let out a faint smile, his voice slow and steady. True form, this is Master Chen Yuan. My name is the Eastern Medicine Sage. He then practiced his voice a few more times, lowering his tone to an aged yet commanding depth, ensuring that every word carried an intangible pressure. After all, with the acting skills of a best actor, slipping into character was merely a matter of minutes for Chen Yuan. After finishing all the preparations, he went down to the garage, casually picked a supercar, and roared off straight to Meiyuan Hospital. Inside the hospital, the atmosphere was tense, as if a single touch could snap it apart. A group of doctors stood by the bedside, their expressions all unbearably grim. A specialist cleared his throat and reported, "Old Wei, the situation has taken a turn for the worse. Mrs. condition is deteriorating faster than we anticipated. Initially, we believed she could hold on for another half-month, but now, even making it to tomorrow is uncertain." Old Wei almost jumped to his feet, so anxious he felt like grabbing a scalpel himself. "Then operate immediately. What are you waiting for?" But the doctor responded with utter helplessness, "It's not that we don't want to proceed, but reports from all major hospitals across the country show that there isn't a single matching kidney available. We've tried every alternative treatment, but not only have they failed, they've worsened Mrs. condition. At this point, it's truly beyond saving." After that sentence, the entire hospital room fell into a moment of deathly silence. Old Wei's legs went weak, his eyes filled with tears, feeling as if the heavens were playing a cruel joke on him. Beichen Medicine King refuses to act, and the doctors are powerless to save her. Is fate truly forcing me to send off the younger generation with my own hands? Ziling hasn't even turned 18 yet. She still has an entire future ahead of her. Thinking about it filled him with helplessness, and a surge of fury mixed with sorrow rose in Old Wei's heart. Tears streamed down his face as he let out a desperate cry. What have I done wrong to deserve such punishment from the heavens? Who can save Ziling? Who can save my granddaughter? I am willing to trade the entire Wei family's fortune and this old life of mine in exchange for her survival. The room remained deathly still, no one daring to respond. Only the weighty sound of sighs filled the space. Finally, one of the most skilled doctors stepped forward and solemnly delivered the final verdict. At this point, there is nothing more we can do. I'm sorry, old Wei. Our medical abilities are limited. You should prepare yourself for the worst. His words struck like a thunderclap on a clear day, plunging the entire room into a mournful atmosphere. It was no different from an official pronouncement of death. But just as old Wei was in utter despair, the door to the hospital room was suddenly flung open. An old master with long, white hair and a flowing beard strode in, his robe billowing grandly. His demeanor was no different from that of an immortal descending to the mortal realm, who said she can't be saved. The entire room instantly erupted into chaos. Doctors, nurses, and old Wei all snapped their heads toward the newcomer. Master, who are you? What do you intend to do? Paying no heed to their questions, Chen Yuan merely spoke in a calm yet imposing tone, his voice carrying an invisible pressure. If you don't want your granddaughter to meet the ancestors, then keep your mouth shut. If it weren't for my disciple Chen Yuan begging so desperately, this true form wouldn't even bother to intervene. Old Wei, still in shock, asked in a trembling voice, Master. Master, who are you? Chen Yuan smirked coldly, clasping one hand behind his back while gently stroking his beard with the other. Then, in a voice that sent shockwaves through the room, he declared, this true form Eastern medicine sage. The doctors stood frozen, their expressions utterly blank, before turning to stare directly at Chen Yuan. Old Wei, too, was dumbfounded for a full 5 seconds, his face filled with question marks. Never heard of this name before. Who is the Eastern medicine sage? Old Wei said, the title sounds impressive, but no one has ever mentioned this person before. Or have I lived almost my entire life only to still be so ignorant? Old Wei felt extremely perplexed but then reconsidered. If this person is truly Chen Yuan's master, then there's no way they could be just an ordinary figure. After all, Chen Yuan himself is no simple man. Ever since he rose to prominence, countless rumors have circulated that he has a formidable force backing him. The upper class has speculated endlessly about the entity behind him. Some guessed it was a secret government, while others believed he was protected by a mysterious organization. And now, it seems that force has finally revealed itself. Under the bewildered gazes of everyone present, Chen Yuan swept his sleeve and spoke with commanding authority. True form wishes to treat this girl and does not want any interference. Whoever dares to disrupt shall bear the consequences themselves. With that, he swung his hand, slamming the hospital room door shut, leaving behind a stunned crowd, still frozen in place, struggling to process what had just happened. But very quickly, a few doctors shouted anxiously, Old Wei, this is not according to protocol. A stranger suddenly barging into the patient's room. What if something happens? Who will take responsibility? This is a hospital, not a place where anyone can do as they please. Security. Security. Old Wei raised his hand, signaling them to stop. Wait a moment. If this master is a fraud, he wouldn't be able to swindle a single penny here. Yet he still dares to barge in. Wouldn't that be the same as walking into a death trap himself? But if he truly is Chen Yuan's master, then perhaps there is hope. Moreover, Chen Yuan merely glanced at me and immediately recognized that I wasn't suffering from a stroke but had been poisoned. That proves he has a certain level of medical expertise. If even he had to plead for his master to step in, then I'm afraid this person is truly extraordinary. The chances are slim, but we must try. And so, a small seed of hope began to rise in Old Wei's heart, as well as in the hearts of all the specialists. Time passed by, second by second, minute by minute. Outside the patient's room, everyone was restless. Old Wei paced back and forth so much that the hospital floor was practically worn down. He must have walked hundreds of laps by now. Never before had half an hour felt so long. Then, at last, the hospital room door suddenly burst open. Old Wei and the team of specialists rushed in like a gust of wind, only to be left gaping in shock at the scene before them. Wei Ziling was not only awake but even let out a yawn before speaking in a clear, crisp voice, Grandpa, I'm thirsty. I want some water. Such a simple sentence, yet it exploded like a bomb in everyone's minds. At that moment, Old Wei was completely lost for words to describe his emotions. He was so overwhelmed that tears once again welled up in his eyes, but this time, they were tears of happiness. Xiaoling, you're really all right now.
The entire hospital was left wide-eyed, mouths agape, minds momentarily frozen.
Meanwhile, Wei Ziling was gulping down water, the sound echoing through the hospital room, leaving everyone visibly stunned. After finishing the water, she felt an incredible sense of relief. Every trace of pain had vanished, her body felt as light as a feather, even more refreshed than usual. But before anyone could utter a word of praise, the little girl suddenly shouted in panic, "This is bad, Grandpa. I need to go to the bathroom, I can't hold it in anymore." Hearing this, the entire room was astonished. However, a nurse quickly stepped forward and hurriedly assisted Wei Ziling to the restroom. At this moment, the top expert was still in shock, his voice trembling. "It seems that Miss Wei's condition has completely stabilized. This is a miracle. A terminal stage kidney failure patient recovering within just half an hour as if she were never ill." Normally, these people only believed in science and had never put faith in the so-called secluded sage medicine of legend. But today, witnessing it firsthand, they had no choice but to believe. Old Wei stepped forward, clasped his hands, and bowed deeply, filled with gratitude. "Master, thank you for your life-saving grace. I, Wei Chang, am willing to dedicate my entire fortune to repay this kindness. This immense favor and virtue our Wei family will never forget it." Chen Yuan, in his elder version, scoffed disdainfully upon hearing this. "These worldly matters of wealth and fame I couldn't care less. If you want to express gratitude, then thank my disciple, Chen Yuan. If he hadn't pleaded, I wouldn't have bothered with such trivial matters." Elder's words filled the entire hospital room with a deeply moving atmosphere. Only those who have experienced true despair can truly understand the value of a glimmer of hope. Before this, I knelt before Beichen Medicine King, begging in every possible way, yet I was ignored like a mere speck of dust in the vast universe. And what about the Eastern medicine sage? No unnecessary words, no grandiose displays, no excessive conditions, just a simple act of saving lives. Both are great men, yet why is the difference so vast? Who is the true miracle doctor? The answer was already crystal clear, and just as Old Wei was about to kneel in gratitude, he was suddenly halted by a cold and cutting remark. Though taken aback, he could only lower his head and sigh inwardly. As expected, the more skilled one is, the more arrogant they become. But before he could say anything, Elder let out a cold scoff. "I heard that recently in Mei Yuan, a so-called Beichen Medicine King has appeared, even daring to plot against my disciple's life? He truly has no idea how high the heavens are. When I was roaming the world freely, he probably hadn't even been born yet." Hearing this, Old Wei couldn't shake off a strange feeling. Isn't this just like those scenes in historical dramas where a secluded sage from the righteous path boasts about his glory? Old Wei said, "But come to think of it, Beichen Medicine King is a legend, revered as a miracle doctor, someone even the government holds in high regard. And yet now, someone dares to appear and claim that he is nothing more than an ant." Before anyone could fully process this shocking statement, Chen Yuan continued with a provocative declaration. "A mere Beichen dares to rely on his seniority to bully the younger generation, without even asking if I agree. Pass a message to him, 3 days from now, by the Huangfu River, I want to confront him. If he dares to show up, I will still respect him as a man of honor. If not, he might as well retreat to the mountains and stay there, sparing himself further humiliation." As soon as those words left his mouth, Old Wei nearly fell backward. I have never witnessed anyone so brazenly challenge Beichen without the slightest hint of fear. Usually, even meeting Beichen Medicine King is a daunting task, yet now someone not only shows no fear but also demands a public duel. While everyone stood frozen in shock, the Eastern medicine sage suddenly swept his sleeve dramatically and turned to leap straight out the window. Old Wei, snapping out of his stupor, shouted in alarm, "Don't jump! This is the 8th floor." But it was too late. He rushed to the window in a panic and froze. The person who had just jumped showed no signs of distress. That figure, clad in a white robe, landed as lightly as a feather, without a single hair out of place. Not only that, but with just a gentle push of his toes, the elder soared into the air, effortlessly crossing a distance of 5 to 6 meters. He continued gliding like a character from a martial arts film, and within moments, he had vanished from sight. At that moment, the entire hospital room was engulfed in a terrifying silence. Everyone felt a chill down their spine, as if their entire perception of the world had been ruthlessly shattered. I am a well-educated person and have witnessed many extraordinary individuals in my lifetime, but seeing an old man with snow-white hair leap from the 8th floor without losing a single strand.
Is he human or an immortal? Could it be that the Eastern medicine sage is even more remarkable than the Beichen medicine king? Beichen is at least over 100 years old, so does that mean this man is over 200?
Within a single afternoon, the shocking news spread like wildfire throughout Meiyuan. The fact that Wei Ziling, who was supposed to be beyond saving, was now walking around in perfect health within less than an hour became the hottest topic among the upper class. The name Eastern medicine sage swiftly caught the attention of all the great clans. People whisper, he is the master of smoke CEO, possessing unparalleled medical skills that have reached the pinnacle of the realm level. Not only can he save lives within half an hour, but he can also glide through the air, walking on thin air as effortlessly as a legendary forerunner. However, the piece of news that shook all of Meiyuan was the official declaration of war between the Eastern medicine sage and Beichen medicine king. In 3 days, at the banks of the Huangfu River, a legendary battle will take place. On one side stands Beichen medicine king, whose unparalleled medical expertise has made him renowned across the land. On the other is the mysterious Eastern medicine sage, a newly emerged figure whose very presence has upended the world. Around 8 p.m., at Zhangchang Group, Beichen medicine king sat listening to Li Zhikai's report, his face darkening with a frown. What? The granddaughter of the Wei family has already been saved by someone else? The culprit no, that so-called benefactor even dares to claim to be the master of Chen Yuan, using the title Eastern medicine sage. Li Zhikai responded, deeply worried, yes, master. Just hearing that name reeks of danger, as if he is deliberately challenging your authority. Not to mention, the hospitals are now abuzz with people praising him as a deity descended from the heavens. Li Zhikai continued, I heard that the Eastern medicine sage not only possesses unparalleled medical skills but can also soar through the air like a character from an ancient martial arts film, appearing and disappearing unpredictably, walking on water without even wetting his shoes. He's practically a figure straight out of legend. As he spoke, Li Zhikai fidgeted, carefully weighing each word while observing Beichen medicine king's expression. If he misspoke and ended up like Du Tianwen, it would be over for him. The more Beichen listened, the deeper his frown became. Eastern medicine sage? I've never heard of that name before. However, if he was able to undo the golden meteor needle, something ordinary people cannot resolve, it proves that he is no ordinary person. There's a high possibility that he has unlocked his genetic locks and reached a realm level beyond the grasp of regular humans. That statement made Li Zhikai's eyes widen in uncontrollable curiosity. Huh? What's a genetic lock? That sounds so badass. Beichen medicine king waved his hand dismissively, but upon seeing Li Zhikai's eyes burning with curiosity like a pair of headlights, he ultimately decided to enlighten him. Unlocking genetic locks, huh? This is the path to the war god level. Anyone who knows how to utilize it will find their body to be an endless treasure trove, just waiting to be excavated. However, most people in this world go their entire lives without even using 10% of their body's potential. Beichen continued, the world is becoming more convenient, technology is advancing, so everyone has grown accustomed to an easygoing lifestyle. Nowadays, an ordinary person only needs to learn a few basic skills to live well. There's no need to exhaust oneself, yet they can still have food to eat and clothes to wear. Because of this, the human body is growing lazier, and instincts are deteriorating as well. No one dares to challenge their own limits anymore. But if you don't challenge yourself, don't even think about unlocking the first tier of the gene lock. If you want to unlock your genes, you have to constantly face life and death moments, push yourself into desperate situations, and force your body to unleash its hidden strength. Just like a wild beast cornered against a wall, it will naturally find a way to erupt with energy. Li Zhikai listened with wide eyes and an open mouth. After a while, his expression lit up as if he had just grasped the profound truths of life. Then, with a face full of curiosity, he eagerly pursued the question to its very root. So, master, may I ask how many tiers does the gene lock have in total? Beichen, the medicine king, continued, no one knows exactly how many tiers the gene lock has,
but the strongest in history have only ever managed to unlock up to the 5th tier at most.
Bei-Chen Medicine King said, starting from the 2nd level, humans can be considered to have officially stepped out of the realm of the ordinary.
However, what they awaken depends on each individual's luck.
Some people develop an extremely sharp sense of smell just one sniff, and they can detect an enemy 10 kilometers away.
Others possess exceptional hearing, able to catch every single word of a whisper from afar.
At this moment, Li Zikai was no longer just confused, he was utterly bewildered, feeling as if his entire world had been turned upside down.
Stammering, he asked, then the Eastern medicine sage that Master just mentioned, which level is he at?
Bei-Chen Medicine King let out a cold snort, his eyes filled with disdain.
At most, the 3rd level. To be honest, a strong man who unlocks the 2nd level can already jump from the 8th floor without losing a single hair. That man has merely reached the peak of the 2nd level at best. As for me, after 60 years of cultivation, I have unlocked the 3rd genetic level. A worthless so-called Eastern medicine sage like him dares to make waves? Does he think I don't exist? I've stayed hidden for a long time, and now he believes he's the number one under the heavens, doesn't he? If he truly dares to stir up trouble, I won't hesitate to take care of him first. This statement left Li Zikai both horrified and bewildered.
At first, he had thought Eastern medicine sage is already the most prestigious figure, yet in the eyes of Bei-Chen Medicine King, this person is worth nothing.
More importantly, if the 2nd tier is already this terrifying, then just how formidable must the 3rd tier be?
Then he said, so it turns out that the Eastern medicine sage, the one everyone hails as a living legend, is merely someone who has unlocked the 2nd tier gene.
If that's the case, then. At that moment, Bei-Chen Medicine King, like a great scholar contemplating the essence of the world, mused, if you change your perspective, do you see that the figures in ancient mythology from the forerunners of the East to the gods of the West, the Arhats, even Poseidon, god of the sea, or death god Shao Wujing, could they all, in essence, have been individuals who unlocked their genes to a higher level? To put it plainly, there are no actual fairies in this world, it's just that some people became so overwhelmingly powerful, far beyond ordinary human imagination, that they were deified. Saying that, Bei-Chen Medicine King slightly curled his lips into a smile, his eyes revealing a sense of arrogance that so-called Eastern medicine sage clearly enjoys showing off in the hospital in front of countless people. He jumped from the 8th floor without losing a single hair. Anyone can see it's just a deliberate act of boasting. Hurry up and spread the word, I have accepted the challenge. 3 days from now, I want the whole world to witness Eastern medicine sage falling at my feet. Let's see who truly stands at the pinnacle. The 3 days of waiting, which felt as long as a century, finally passed. And today, the day the entire upper class, strongmen, politicians, and even international agents were more eager for than a World Cup final had arrived. From early morning, before the sun even bothered to rise, a crowd had already flocked to the banks of the Huangfu River, carrying heavy items in their hands, holding their breakfast at the ready, fully prepared to feast while watching the grand battle. Though excitement filled the air, the biggest problem was the endless waiting. Some had been there since 5 a.m., but no matter how long they waited, neither Bei-Chen Medicine King nor Eastern Medicine Sage was anywhere to be seen. Xiaonan stood in the crowd and angrily exclaimed, "We've been waiting for over 2 hours now. Are those two planning to show up, or are they just going to let us roast in the sun until noon?" Wang Gui, equally frustrated, chimed in, "Exactly. We knew there'd be a duel today, but who knows what time exactly. If I'd known it'd be this late, I would have gotten a few more hours of sleep." Nearby, a few others were grumbling as well, "Damn it, we rushed out here all excited this morning, and now we're just standing around in the cold wind." But isn't it because we're afraid of missing the most thrilling moment? Still, Huangfu River is so long, where's the fight supposed to happen? Could it be that we've been waiting at the wrong spot all this time? After what felt like forever, the main characters finally appeared. On the surging river, a series of bamboo rafts floated lazily upstream. On one of the rafts stood a solitary figure, proud and unyielding, their robes billowing in the wind, exuding an aura that was both timeless and commanding. Strangely enough, there wasn't anyone steering the raft. At that moment, along the entire bank of the Huangfu River, no one could stop their heart from skipping a beat. Is that Bei-Chen, the Medicine King? My God, he's finally here. Damn it, I've been waiting since 5 a.m. Someone get me a bed and a bowl of instant noodles, now. But just as everyone was still in awe, another important question arose. Wait a minute, Bei Chen, the medicine king, has arrived, but where is the Eastern medicine sage? How is this historic battle moving at such a snail's pace? Who can bear this? Don't tell me the master needs extra time to do makeup before making an appearance? Just as people were about to lose their minds, the Eastern medicine sage finally deigned to show up. From a distance, a boat floated into view, drifting slowly as if filming an ecotourism commercial. The crowd immediately jumped to their feet, shouting excitedly. He's here, he's here! The Eastern medicine sage has finally arrived. We thought we were being stood up, but turns out he's actually coming. At the bow of the boat sat a lone figure, his robes billowing in the wind. He was an old man with an aura of otherworldly wisdom, his face so aged that it seemed as if a strong gust of wind might topple him over at any moment. He sat with his eyes closed, his expression calm and indifferent, as if completely detached from the world around him. But compared to Bei Chen Medicine King, who had just made a grand entrance exuding regal dominance, the Eastern medicine sage appeared far weaker. Like someone who, with just a single cough, might disintegrate into dust at any moment. Some people in the crowd even hesitantly whispered, "Hey, what if the old man collapses into the water before even throwing a punch?" He does look fragile. Shut up, that's a true master. Don't let his appearance fool you. The atmosphere suddenly grew tense. Though the two small boats were still 100 meters apart, the air was already crackling with lethal intent, so intense that anyone nearby could feel its crushing weight pressing down on them. Bei Chen Medicine King curled his lips in disdain. So what if he can jump 6 meters? An average person jumps 1 meter at best, he's 6 times that. Even if he somehow bursts past that limit, he won't exceed 10 times the norm. It looks impressive, sure, but in reality, there's nothing frightening about it. If he thinks that alone is enough to intimidate me, that's just hilarious. On the other boat, Chen Yuan did not dare underestimate his opponent. No matter how powerful Bei Chen Medicine King is, I still don't fully understand his true strength. But one thing is certain, he's definitely not ordinary. Chen Yuan thought, even a lion goes all out to hunt a rabbit, let alone me facing an absolute top-tier master. If I can't win, I'll run. Who says I can't? If I can't run, I'll dive. If I can't dive, I'll play dead. The point is, whatever I do, I just have to avoid getting caught. As long as the Green Mountains remain, why worry about a future chance for revenge? If I don't win this time, I'll make sure to get back at him next time. To be safe, he called upon the system, enhance my strength by 100 points. The system notified, ting. Enhancing 100 strength points will consume 100 enhancement points. Are you going all in? Chen Yuan said, let's do it. The system notified, ting. Done. You are now extremely powerful. Name, Chen Yuan. Age, 22, full of youthful vigor. Weight, 80 kilograms. Height, 1.85 meters, fitting the National K celebrity standard. Overall strength index, 271 punch and they're sent flying, absolutely dominant. Constitution, 220 no pain, no fatigue. Mental strength, 170. Agility, 170. Remaining lifespan, 180 years, long enough to carry the whole world. Current state, too strong, nowhere to vent. Remaining enhancement points, 20, saving some for a life or death moment. 1 second after the reinforcement command was confirmed, Chen Yuan felt an overwhelming surge of power roaring through his entire body. It wasn't the usual sensation of feeling full after a meal or the refreshing vigor after exercise, it was a state of transcendence. It was as if every bone, muscle, and tendon in his body had been immersed in a cosmic-level enhancement cauldron. Every cell within him brimmed with energy. His muscles felt as though they had been pumped full of air, his bones were so solid they could be used to forge steel, and his tendons were as elastic as rubber bands. Yet strength did not equate to recklessness.
Chen Yuan understood a fundamental truth among seasoned players: you can afford to lose face, but you must never lose your life. Somewhere along the windy riverside, a group of onlookers eagerly peered through binoculars, observing the situation.
Is this really Master Chen Yuan's mentor? But why isn't Chen Yuan here?
As she spoke, Wang Mengmang glanced around, searching for the person who was supposed to be present. Beside him, Xin Wusong let out a weary sigh. I called Chen Yuan, but he said he's busy grinding in a game, no time to watch people fight to the death. Hearing this, Dai Han remained silent, his face filled with contemplation as if he had anticipated something. For the past 3 days, ever since the day the Eastern medicine sage appeared at Meiyuan Hospital, no one has seen or heard any further news about him.
It's as if he vanished into thin air.
Yet, instead, his disciple, Chen Yuan, has been busy accepting gratitude gifts on his behalf. Now that he has appeared, Chen Yuan has disappeared. There's clearly something suspicious going on. But at that very moment, Beichen Medicine King suddenly moved. With just a slight press of his foot, the entire bamboo raft beneath him exploded into thousands of fragments.
The immense force compressed the river water into towering columns that shot into the air.
In the next instant, his entire figure transformed into a dark blur, darting across the river straight toward Chen Yuan, Eastern medicine sage. Prepare to die. The entire riverbank trembled, but the most terrifying thing was not the destruction of the raft, it was the overwhelming, awe-inspiring power radiating from Beichen Medicine King's body. He wasn't merely taking a few steps, he was walking on water as if it were solid ground. He did not sink, did not waver, not even the slightest sign of losing balance. The moment his foot touched the water, it instantly parted to both sides, creating massive ripples. From a distance, it seemed as though Beichen Medicine King was riding the waves, each step he took shattering the water's surface, as if it could not withstand the sheer force of his power.
From that distance, Beichen Medicine King took only 3 seconds to glide across the river, an intense killing aura surging around him.
Waves exploded in all directions, as if a divine being had descended upon the world.
1 second. In just one brief second, the entire Huangfu riverbank fell into what people often describe as a 5-second freeze.
Thousands of onlookers suddenly felt their hearts stop, their limbs go weak, some even experienced a chill running down their spine.
Damn it, what just happened? Is this lightness skill water gliding? Is Beichen Medicine King running on water or what? The scene before their eyes rendered all those who had ever doubted utterly silent. Even Xin Wusong was nearly shocked to his core, momentarily forgetting to blink. Oh my god, could this really be cultivating immortality? This is bad, really bad. This time, we've gone way too far.
Seeing Xin Wusong growing anxious, Dai Han remained calm, resting his chin on his hand as he analyzed the situation.
In theory, if a person runs fast enough, the counteracting force from the water's surface should prevent them from sinking.
It's the same principle as when you throw a stone horizontally, it will bounce on the water for a moment before sinking completely. But theory is one thing, in reality, no one can actually do it.
Beichen Medicine King is an existence that far surpasses human understanding.
In that moment, even Chen Yuan nearly found himself kneeling while running on the water. I've never even tried this move before, not because I'm a coward, but because I've only ever bullied those weaker than me. I've always played the role of absolute authority, stepping on and crushing those who couldn't fight back. If I felt like fighting, I fought. If I didn't feel like it, I'd finish the fight and then fight some more. But today, everything has changed. Chen Yuan thought, for the first time in my life, I am facing a true master, a heavyweight so powerful that they can shatter every illusion of my strength with just a single glance.
The feeling right now is anything but okay.
At this moment, Beichen Medicine King, filled with murderous intent, roared like the heavens collapsing and the earth splitting. Eastern medicine sage, prepare to die. As soon as the words left his mouth, he unleashed a palm technique, striking downwards with such force that the air around it compressed into rippling waves. This was no ordinary palm technique, it carried an immense truest source power, strong enough to obliterate a 10-story building.
If it landed, there would be no need to call an ambulance, death was certain.
Chen Yuan, witnessing this scene, broke out in a cold sweat.
3 words flashed in his mind: dodge right now.
No, this pressure is too immense, I have to evade immediately.
If this palm lands, I'm dead meat.
So, Chen Yuan decided not to take the risk and opted for a delicate balance between advancing and retreating, kicking while dodging, using his strength to offset part of the attack's force, then seizing the opportunity to escape. But just as he raised his leg, something felt off. If that palm technique truly carried such terrifying power, then upon impact, I should feel a shockwave or at least a heavy pressure. Chen Yuan thought, but the leg that just kicked out ended up hitting something soft. A second later, Bei Chen Medicine King was sent flying like a cannonball, spinning through the air like a kite with a snapped string, before crash landing with immense force onto a passing cruise ship. Chen Yuan stood frozen for a few seconds, then panicked as he realized he had just kicked away an elder as powerful as a deity. Huh? He flew that far? I was just trying to dodge the palm technique, but somehow, I accidentally delivered a sky-shattering kick that sent my opponent flying 50 meters away. Well, it made sense. 27 times the strength of an average person, 3 tons of impact force. This kick was no different from getting hit head-on by a truck.
The entire riverside fell into absolute silence.
The crowd stood still like stone statues, their eyes widened to the point of almost popping out, their mouths agape, yet no one could utter a single word. Bei Chen Medicine King, who had just been leaping around like an immortal, displaying an array of awe-inspiring techniques, had seemed unbeatable. And yet, he was defeated in a single move. Everyone was bewildered, no one understood what had just happened, no one could believe it, no one even dared to breathe too loudly. Some even began to question their own existence, wondering if they had seen wrong, fallen into an illusion, or been drugged into confusion. But no, the truth was right there before their eyes. Bei Chen Medicine King remained motionless, blood spurting from his mouth, while his internal organs seemed to be playing a game of jigsaw puzzle, yet none of the pieces fit together. Meanwhile, the ship's deck was no longer intact, bearing a massive hole.
Qin Wusong was equally shocked by the scene before him. What the hell? It's over as soon as it started, done in a single second. And to think I expected an intense, evenly matched battle, a struggle that would last hundreds of moves before deciding the winner. While the entire arena was plunged into dead silence, Chen Yuan wore an expression of extreme disdain. Standing there, he cast a scornful glance, curled his lips in contempt, and looked utterly unimpressed. Seriously? All that showmanship, and this is all you've got? I almost turned pale from fright. Hearing this, Bei Chen Medicine King didn't know whether to feel proud or utterly humiliated. Kneeling there on the verge of death, he suddenly sprang up like a zombie and roared, "Gene lock, 3rd level unlock." Immediately, he transformed into his peak version. His cells roared into action, and his mind became so clear that he could do mental calculations faster than a handheld calculator. The world around him slowed down like a video in slow motion, and for 3 seconds, he became a superhuman. But instead of charging forward to continue the fight, his first thought was, run. Somebody save me. Because he realized, even at full power, the Eastern medicine sage is still unbelievably strong. That kick without even unlocking his genetic restraints was already that powerful. If he fully unleashed his potential, the entire universe might shake. Bei Chen Medicine King was terrified. His internal organs trembled, his heart pounded wildly, maybe even jumped out of his chest. Meanwhile, Chen Yuan remained standing there, hands clasped behind his back, his face cold and composed, not even blinking, no need for any flashy moves. I'll just lift my foot and land a single kick. That's it, simple and clean. No need for slow motion or special effects. But a second later, Bei Chen Medicine King bent his knees and sprang into the air from the ship's deck as if he had springs beneath his feet. He soared, landing on the shore in the blink of an eye, then vanished at such an astonishing speed that even the wind had to concede defeat. The crowd watching the battle looked as if they had been slapped in the face with a bucket of cold water, their expressions frozen in shock. Huh? Ha? Bei Chen Medicine King is running? He's really running? Even Chen Yuan was stunned, his brain momentarily shutting down. Huh? Ha? What's going on? I thought he was about to explode with power and unleash some earth-shattering ultimate move? Who would have thought? Is this what they call the demeanor and aura of a martial arts master? Where's the prestige of Medicine King Valley? Where's his dignity? Did he leave it on the boat or something? Alright, fine. Out of respect for your years of arduous cultivation, I'll be generous and spare your life. But remember this: if you dare to cause trouble again, I'll skin you alive, strip your flesh, and toss you into a hot pot to let you taste real suffering. As for Bei Chen Medicine King, he was running for his life, fearing that Chen Yuan might catch up. Forget medicine, forget king. In front of the Eastern medicine sage, I'm nothing but a terrified speck of dust. This Eastern medicine sage is a true fox, hiding some terrifying strength. How the hell did he send me flying like a truck collision without even unlocking his genes? And he wasn't even using his full power? If he goes all out, I might just die on the spot. At this moment, the crowd around was still standing frozen as if they had lost their souls, but the truth remained the truth. Bei Chen, the medicine king whom everyone believed to be invincible, had now been defeated in less than a second. And the reason? He had been kicked away like a ball. The atmosphere grew even more silent. Meanwhile, Qin Wusong was still shaking his head in disappointment, feeling somewhat surprised. And this is what they call a supreme master? Truly disappointing. Unbelievable, unacceptable. Forget it, I'd better go to sleep, nothing else worth watching. On the other hand, Daihan was lost in thought but quickly waved her hand and said, Sister Wusong, Eastern medicine sage has won. Try calling Chen Yuan to report the result. I bet no one will pick up. Down by the river, Chen Yuan was leisurely enjoying himself when he suddenly noticed several drones hovering above, capturing close-ups of his handsome face. It wasn't easy to get caught off guard in an unflattering state. Chen Yuan immediately regained his composure, adjusted his stance to look as cool as possible, one hand on his hip, the other raised toward the sky, his face cold and expressionless, as if he were protecting universal peace. Bei Chen has fled back to the mountains after my defeat. There's nothing more to see. Everyone, disperse. But before anyone could finish being amazed, Chen Yuan suddenly leaped straight into the sky, soaring dozens of meters in an instant. He landed lightly on the rooftops of several Western-style villas by the riverside, then vanished as if he had never been there, leaving behind a crowd of people with their mouths agape, unable to close them. His speed was so astonishing that no one even knew what cool remark to utter. Someone in the crowd widened their eyes and muttered a few classic lines, cultivating immortality, no doubt about it. It's definitely cultivating immortality, not just some accidental overdose of supplements. What's the point of science at this point? This world is seriously full of eye-poppingly bizarre things. It's absolutely heartbreaking. Anyone who witnessed it knew this memory would never fade. It was burned into their minds, impossible to forget. Especially Eastern medicine sage, who always claimed to be Chen Yuan's master. After this event, his name spread far and wide, completely overshadowing the title of Bei Chen Medicine King, knocking it down to the lowest rank. Everyone who met him had to bow their heads in respect, and the only thing missing was a bronze statue in the middle of the square to honor his greatness. On the other side of the globe, while the Skull and Bone organization was putting their entire effort into eliminating Chen Yuan, in another corner of the map, Lin Shutong and the assassin Scorpion were enduring a rather unpleasant adventure, a combination of escape and being relentlessly hunted down. Amid this life and death journey, Lin Shutong, once a timid and fearful girl who would jump at the sound of gunfire, gradually transformed into an upgraded version of herself, wearing an expression that said, "You dare mess with me?" Each time she was pushed to the brink, she no longer trembled but instead displayed eyes as sharp as razors, blazing with hatred and unyielding determination. The turning point came in a moment when, for the first time, Lin Shutong not only fought back but also managed to take down her pursuer. From that moment on, Lin Shutong realized she was no longer the same person she used to be. She began to exhibit an unbeatable combo, a superhuman endurance that allowed her to sprint 10 kilometers without breaking a sweat, as if she were merely taking a stroll in the park, lightning-fast reflexes that let her dodge an attack before it fully registered, and a level of lethality where her enemies would die before they even understood what had hit them. Even more impressively, Lin Shutong activated full-on 1 versus 100 mode, single-handedly wiping out the entire enemy team as if she were just taking out the trash. Her ability to learn was faster than AI. She knew everything, could do anything, and scored a perfect 100 in logic studies. But that wasn't all.
Lin Shutong also possessed an astonishingly fast healing ability, barely injured for a moment before she was fully recovered in the blink of an eye, without even needing a band-aid for show. Scorpion had once been a master in spear techniques, but she never expected to meet a golden student like Lin Shutong. After just 2 days of training, the girl had already reached a level where every spear move hit its mark, every throw landed with pinpoint precision, so much so that Scorpion began questioning her own life choices. Wait.
Is this really my student? Or am I the one who needs to go back to training?
After single-handedly defeating all the enemies, Lin Shutong casually took control of a military vehicle she had hijacked, her eyes burning bright with a determination that seemed ready to ignite. She turned to Scorpion, radiating confidence, and declared, "Sister Scorpion, listen up. I'm planning to head to Los Angeles Airport soon, hijack a plane, and fly straight to Nation K. From there, I'll cruise my way over to Nation H." In fact, every reckless action she took had only one reason: love. That's right, love was the driving force that pushed her through everything. Ever since she had been separated from Chen Yuan, she had felt like a pressure cooker, tightly sealed and ready to explode at any moment. Her longing to see Chen Yuan again was so intense that she was willing to tear down the entire world if necessary. But this time, upon her return, she was no longer the weak, tear-streaked Lin Shutong of the past. Hearing her words, Scorpion nodded. "All right, if you've made up your mind, then go for it." But before he could say anything more, Lin Shutong added something that made perfect sense to him: "We can't let Chen Yuan's investment of 3,700,000,000 go to waste. We have to survive, return, and prove to him that I am worthy of everything he has done." At the airport, a sudden thought struck Scorpion, making his eyes widen in disbelief.
"Wait, do you even know how to fly a plane? And you're talking about hijacking one?" Lin Shutong responded casually, "I'm learning. It's easy. And if I can't fly it, we'll just kidnap the captain to be sure."
Exactly the kind of person who acts on impulse, no unnecessary complications, no need for elaborate plans.
Just charge ahead and take what's needed, the rest can be figured out later.
As for the passport issue, she brushed it off as casually as flicking away a cigarette ash.
Even if I don't have one, so what? Even if I'm on a wanted list, who cares? If I want to return to Nation H, the only way is to seize the chance myself. Waiting around? Who knows when I'll ever see Chen Yuan again?
But just at that moment, a beggar appeared. At first glance, he seemed like a stranger, but upon closer look he turned out to be from Nation H.
"Fellow countrymen, spare some change?"
Lin Shutong's eyes swept over him, and she couldn't help but feel a sting in her heart.
"Oh my God, a man from Nation H, and yet you've fallen this low? Don't you know the saying, live with your head held high?"
Despite her cold demeanor, she casually pulled out a $100 bill and tossed it to the beggar. Jin Jiamu looked up to thank her, but the moment his eyes met hers, they instantly contracted. His brain froze for 0.5 seconds.
"Thanks, miss."
Before him stood a woman in skin-tight pants that perfectly outlined her flawless curves, her fair skin smooth as porcelain.
No makeup, yet breathtakingly beautiful.
More notably, Jin Jiamu was no ordinary man. He had encountered all kinds of beautiful women in his life, from friendly beauty queens to bold and charismatic girls, yet with just a single glance, he was utterly captivated. Though her face bore a few scratches and carried the weariness of a life on the road, none of it diminished her mesmerizing allure in the slightest. If anything, those very scratches were like a special seasoning, adding to her mysterious and untamed charm. Unlike the delicate city girls, she exuded a powerful, almost feral aura, strong and untamed, yet still graceful.
The kind of woman who could knock me down in 3 seconds flat, yet make me willingly take another hit.
Before she could take a step forward, Lin Shutong heard an utterly cringeworthy pickup line from the beggar: "Miss, hold on.
You're from Nation H too, aren't you? How about adding me on WeChat? I'm kind of famous back in Nation H, you know."
As soon as Jin Jiamu finished speaking, both of them almost choked from coughing. However, before Lin Shutong could react, the Scorpion fired off a sharp, contemptuous remark like a straight shot of pure disdain. "This beggar is ridiculously confident, doesn't even bother looking in the mirror to see what kind of joke he is. Already miserable enough to be sitting on the roadside begging for money, yet still has the audacity to flirt with girls.
Who does this guy think he is? But Jin Jiamu wasn't the type to be easily put down.
He immediately switched to full-on bullshitting mode, his mouth as fast as a machine gun.
What are you saying, miss? You've got it all wrong.
I'm no beggar, just immersing myself in a life experience.
Just think of me as a street performer. As for my true identity?
I was once an eldest young master tycoon, owner of 100 billion fortune, where a mere wave of my hand had people bowing in submission.
Money? Beautiful women?
To me now, they are nothing but fleeting clouds, as light as feathers. Back in the day, I was ruined by wealth and decadent pleasures. Now he was determined to return to the righteous path and start over.
Do not look down on the beggar of today, for tomorrow, he may become the tycoon who holds the entire world in his hands.
At this point, Jin Jiamu continued his endless chatter without the slightest hint of boredom, but his tone had gradually shifted to one filled with hatred. He swore that sooner or later, he would rise again, hold his head high, and reclaim his place at the top.
And that bastard, dog-like creature Chen Yuan, would undoubtedly pay a heavy price.
In truth, mentioning Chen Yuan was merely for show to create the impression that he had once been a big deal, that he had crossed paths with famous figures, adding a bit more flair to his story. But unexpectedly, the moment she heard that name, Lin Shutong reacted as if she had just downed a shot of hyperactive vitamins. Her emotions surged wildly. Her voice was as light as a passing breeze, yet within it lurked an ominous undercurrent.
You just mentioned Chen Yuan. Are you talking about the smoke CEO of Nation H? You two have a history?
The atmosphere suddenly tightened like a stretched string. A single careless answer, a minor slip-up, and teeth would be flying. Unfortunately, Jin Jiamu was completely oblivious to the glaring danger signs before him. Instead, he puffed up and continued his boastful rambling.
Of course, back in the day, he and I. Ah, but never mind, no need to bring up the past. Game over. You shouldn't have mentioned it.
But since you already did, congratulations.
You're doomed.
1 second later, Lin Shutong transformed into a thunder goddess, delivering a straight kick aimed at Jin Jiamu's second heart. The kick was so powerful that it could make 3 bodybuilders combined cry out in agony. Jin Jiamu was sent flying 6 meters, landing on the ground with a painful thud, accompanied by a gut-wrenching scream that echoed across the airport.
Just hearing it was enough to make passers-by wince in sympathy.
Lin Shutong walked forward coldly, standing over the gasping figure beneath her feet, and delivered a sharp proclamation, her tone as commanding as a supreme queen passing judgment. Don't let me see your face again. If you dare insult my Qin Yuan CA with that vile attitude once more, I will make you regret ever existing in this world.
With that, Lin Shutong turned and walked away.
At that moment, the nearby security guards, having heard the horrifying screams, rushed to the scene in droves. But by the time they arrived, all they saw was Jin Jiamu writhing in agony on the ground.
Just a few minutes later,
the 2 women had hijacked an airport patrol car, speeding across the runway like a tempest. They stopped a plane just before it could take off. Lin Shutong and Scorpio strode onto the aircraft with unshakable dominance, their gazes as cold as death itself.
Click.
Each of them drew a pistol, and without hesitation, they unleashed a barrage of precise gunfire at the plane's guards. More than 100 innocent passengers on the plane looked at the scene before them, terrified out of their wits, all unwillingly becoming hostages. Lin Shutong, however, remained as calm as if he were strolling through the streets, leisurely walking back and forth between cabins. In no time, he had taken control of the captain, forcing the plane to head straight for Duchua Nation, as if nothing serious had happened. The moment the FBI and CIA received the news, they rushed to the scene, fully equipped with the most advanced gear. But unfortunately, they had already lost Xiao. The leader of the operation stood at the scene, anxiously ruffling his hair, veins bulging all over his forehead. He was so furious that he punched the steering wheel, yet he had no idea how to handle the situation.
Shoot the plane down? Impossible.
That would make them the world's greatest sinners.
Not shoot? Also impossible. All they could do was watch helplessly as it disappeared into the sky, their frustration laid bare. Just as he turned around, a researcher standing beside him narrowed his eyes in suspicion, his tone full of infinitely recursive deductions. Number 2. The reforged experimental subject. Its combat abilities far surpass all predictions. Another person nodded, his expression heavy. Exactly. It's just a pity we didn't have time to erase its memories. Otherwise, by now, it would have become an absolutely unstoppable super soldier. Then he lowered his voice, a glint of doubt flashing in his eyes. But what I've noticed. Out of thousands of experiments, only 2 cases were successful. And interestingly, both of them are from Nation H. Could it be that the genes of Nation H's people are simply compatible with our transformation code? One of the researchers suddenly wondered. Like how a lock can only be opened with the right key, and other people's genes are just the wrong key so they can't unlock it, leading to failure? The leader of the group nodded in agreement upon hearing this. It made sense. He immediately made a decision, then for the next step, find a few more Chinese test subjects. Who knows, we might achieve a breakthrough. At that very moment, whether by fate or sheer misfortune, a nearby rescue team was trying to resuscitate a homeless man from Nation H. He was gravely injured in his lower body, covered in blood, and completely powerless to resist. Unfortunately, the scene inadvertently caught the researcher's attention. And just like that, Jin Jiamu, unlucky as he was, got caught in the crossfire. He was kidnapped on the spot, becoming a live test subject in the blink of an eye. The leader, upon seeing their new specimen, waved his hand and gave a decisive order: no need to take this one to the hospital. Send him straight to the research center. Then, with a slight tilt of his chin, he added another command: as for test subject number 2, send someone to capture him again. If we can't get him, just kill Xiao to avoid trouble. Meanwhile, Jin Jiamu remained unconscious, completely unaware that his life was about to enter a tragic new chapter. A chapter where he would become a living experiment, his fate unknown, whether he'd turn into a superhuman or a complete failure. At the same time, in a lavish mansion belonging to the Zhongwen Corporation, Northern God of Medicine barely managed to drag himself home. Before he could even sit down to regulate his breathing, he suddenly coughed up a mouthful of fresh blood. Wiping the blood from the corner of his lips, his face twisted like a bitter melon. Mother of God, this hurts like hell. That bastard Dong Xian is truly ruthless. One kick, and my internal organs feel like they're about to pack up and leave. If it were an ordinary person, they'd be having tea with their ancestors by now. Luckily, I'm no ordinary man. While regulating his breathing, Northern God of Medicine was already calculating his revenge. Thank the heavens I managed to break through to the 3rd genetic lock level before going out to party. Otherwise, I wouldn't have this self-healing ability. My wounds are healing fast, or else I'd already be on someone's altar by now. This was far too careless of me. It'll take at least a whole month for these injuries to heal. But then again, it's not like I'm weak. A cold glint flashed in his eyes. Dong Xian, you old bastard, if you've got the guts, just wait for me. If I can't take you down, I can always deal with that disciple of yours, Chen Yuan. Don't tell me he'll always have someone protecting him? This grudge is irreconcilable. That brat Chen Yuan, just you wait. Once I've recovered, I'll send you on your way soon enough. At these words, the corners of his mouth curled into a sinister smile. After I kill him, I'll disappear without a trace. Let's see if that old bastard Dong Xian is skilled enough to find me. The world is vast, I just need to vanish in an instant, and that's that. At a public restroom by the Huangpu River, just as Chen Yuan was removing his makeup, Qin Wusong repeatedly called him 3 times but received no response. It wasn't until half an hour later that the call was finally answered. Oh my God, where are you, Chen Yuan? I've been calling like crazy, and you just stayed silent? Do you even know? Your master, Senior Dong Xian, just utterly crushed the Northern God of Medicine. Upon hearing this, Qin Yuan calmly replied, his tone as if this was the most obvious thing in the world. Yeah, that was within expectations. Who do you think my master is?
Since the time of Emperor Qianlong, he's been undefeated across the world. That so-called northern god compared to my master, he's just a speck of dust blowing in the wind, not even worth mentioning. The moment Chen Yuan mentioned Emperor Qianlong, Qin Wusong was instantly stunned. Her mind raced through a crash course in history.
Wait a minute.
Emperor Qianlong was born in 1711 and passed away in 1799, so it's been over 300 years since then.
Does that mean Senior Dongxian is a 300-year-old monster?
Knowing that he had accidentally called Chen Yuan's master a weird old monster, Qin Wusong panicked and hastily tried to smooth things over.
Sorry, Chen Yuan.
I didn't mean to offend Senior Dongxian, I was just too shocked. Really, I had no ill intentions at all.
Please don't be mad.
On the other end of the call, Chen Yuan maintained his usual cool and composed tone. It's fine, I understand. When I first learned about this, I was even more shocked than you.
Cultivators can seize the fortunes of heaven and earth, absorbing the spiritual energy of the universe to extend their lifespans.
With every breakthrough in realm, their lifespan increases. But unfortunately, Earth has been overexploited, and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth has been nearly depleted, making the path of cultivation increasingly difficult. Hearing this, Qin Wusong noticed that the call signal was becoming unstable.
Worried that Chen Yuan might hang up midway, he hurriedly said,
"Hey, Chen Yuan, my grandfather wants to host a banquet to invite Senior Dongxian. An old master Wei from the Wei family also wants to express his gratitude to your master for saving Wei Xilin's life.
I wonder if you could help arrange this."
At first glance, it seemed like a simple request, but Chen Yuan put on a distressed expression and let out a weary sigh.
"I'm afraid I can't.
My master is like a mythical dragon seen once and then gone without a trace. Forget about inviting him to a banquet, I can't even call him.
He doesn't use a phone, WeChat, or any social media. It's like he's permanently offline.
Usually, it's my master who contacts me, not the other way around.
Even if I wanted to call him, I wouldn't know how. Plus, he's so eccentric that even if I begged and pleaded, there's no guarantee he'd agree. I'm truly sorry."
In the passenger seat, Dai Han, who had been silently observing the conversation, started to have serious doubts.
Wait a second.
Dongxian medicine master has only appeared twice, and both times Chen Yuan was conveniently absent.
Could it be that Chen Yuan and his so-called master are merely master-disciple in name only?
Or worse.
Did Chen Yuan just make up this master to boost his own image?
And so, after this conversation, Qin Wusong felt reassured, knowing he had at least tried to extend the invitation.
Meanwhile, Chen Yuan thought he could relax. Little did he know, Wang Meng was about to call.
Chen Yuan dragged out his words, putting on an extremely affectionate tone. "Hello.
Meng, is there something you need from your dear brother?" On the other end of the line, Wang Meng's anxious voice rang out, "Brother. Where are you right now?"
"I just went to the villa to find you, but no one was there. And this is serious, my mom came looking for you."
Chen Yuan nearly choked on his own saliva, startled, and shouted, "What? You mean Tang Yun came?"
"That's right, bro. My mom and Uncle Chen came together. We're standing outside the villa gate right now." Chen Yuan spent 5 precious minutes of his life sprinting back to the villa at the speed of light. But the sight that greeted him nearly sent him toppling over from sheer bewilderment.
3 legendary figures were standing there, waiting. First was Wang Meng, the nation's little sister. Just hearing her name was enough to conjure an image of pure adorableness.
Beside her was Tang Yin, so similar to Wang Meng that they could easily be mistaken for twins, except for one small difference.
The expiration date.
They say a mother of one is the most enchanting, and Tang Yun was living proof. Despite being in her 40s, she was still as luscious as a ripe peach.
No wonder Chen Jianhong was utterly smitten.
Just now, it suddenly hit me, Chen Jianhong was also standing there. He looked exactly like a handsome countryside man, especially when compared to old Wang, the next-door neighbor. In terms of looks, he was clearly the superior one.
Chen Yuan furrowed his brows, scanning Tang Yun from head to toe. A shocking thought immediately popped into his mind. Wait, what? What's going on here? Why does Tang Yun's belly look a little round? Don't tell me. There's good news? Hold on, who's the author of this masterpiece?
At that very moment, Chen Jianhong and Chen Yuan's eyes accidentally met a gaze that carried 1,000 silent confessions.
No words were needed. Everything was crystal clear.
The old man squinted his eyes for a closer look and then
completely froze for 5 seconds. Huh? This kid looks kinda familiar. But who is he?
It took him a few more seconds to process the information in his head before he finally realized.
Holy shit! That's my kid.
Last time I saw him was after last year's Lunar New Year, back when we were still in our hometown.
He looked so plain back then, just like a bowl of cold rice. And now? Damn, I almost didn't recognize him.
Chen Yuan now stood tall, his body lean and muscular, radiating an undeniable presence. Even the way he walked carried a certain aura.
I'm the final boss around here.
When Chen Yuan approached, Chen Jianhong could only manage an awkward smile.
Yuan, my boy, it's been so long. I almost didn't recognize you. You've grown so tall and handsome.
Chen Yuan felt an overwhelming sense of irritation. This woman was the very spark that had torn his family apart back then, causing his parents to argue incessantly before luring his father away to elope.
But the bigger issue was, this woman was also Wang Meng's biological mother. If he lashed out and cursed her outright, would it put Meng in a difficult position? Swallowing his anger, Chen Yuan only uttered one sentence. All right, come inside and have a seat.
Barely had they settled down when Chen Yuan fixed his gaze on the two people before him and coldly declared,
just get to the point. I don't like beating around the bush. I'm busy.
Hearing this, Chen Jianhong forced a strained smile, mustered all his courage, and spoke up.
Son, Tang Yun and I came here today because we have something important to tell you. We're planning to get married. And as if that bombshell wasn't enough, the old man added, oh. And one more thing. Your Tang Yun is pregnant.
Chen Yuan raised an eyebrow, not out of surprise, but because, well, this was just a bit too much.
So? What about my mother? How do you plan to handle this?
Chen Jianhong immediately looked awkward. He took a deep breath, then spoke in a tone full of remorse. So, I heard that the land back home has already been cleared, and the old orchard was removed to make way for luxury villas.
The compensation money should be a few million or so.
I've agreed to remove my household registration without taking any assets, leaving all the money for your mother to live on in her old age, as long as she agrees to the divorce.
I won't ask for anything.
After saying that, the old man turned to grasp Tang Yun's hand tightly, his eyes shimmering like a scene straight out of a primetime Korean drama. At that moment, there was only one word in Chen Yuan's mind: disgusting. His emotions were all over the place: anger, disappointment, sadness, but mixed in with all of that was an indescribable sense of helplessness. For love, you two are willing to give up everything, endure public judgment? And now, after getting pregnant, you're asking for a divorce from my mother? What the hell? Am I hearing this wrong? In this world, the hardest thing to force is feelings, yet the most exhausting thing is being stuck in the middle of a mess like this. After 5 minutes of suffocating silence, Chen Yuan finally spoke, his tone full of irritation. Fine.
I'm not getting involved in this. Do whatever you want.
I don't have the mental capacity to deal with this kind of nonsense. Hearing that Chen Yuan wanted to let it go, Wang Meng felt a wave of guilt crashing over her like a tsunami.
Uncle Chen wants to marry that woman. If they get married, I will become his legitimate daughter by law. That means I will have a complete family, no longer feeling the lack of love.
I might even have a younger sibling to dote on, to share everything with.
But if I happily accept this, wouldn't that be too cruel to Chen Yuan Caca? His mother tore his family apart, and yet here I am, carefreely enjoying the outcome? Wouldn't that make me no different from an intruder?
But just at that moment, Chen Jianhong sat up straight, his hands interlaced with Tang Yun's, his expression more serious than ever.
My child.
In reality, the feelings between your mother and me have long withered. But because of society's expectations, even though there was no love left, we both endured it, neither of us willing to divorce.
In the blink of an eye, it's been over 20 years.
Then the old man took a deep breath and lowered his voice, but
I have a secret that I have never told you. The atmosphere instantly became as heavy as a solid weight.
Sitting beside him, Wang Meng perked up her ears, her face tensed, feeling like she was about to witness a shocking revelation. Chen Yuan frowned, his sharp gaze seeming to pierce through that layer of secrecy.
What secret?
Just say it already, stop being so cryptic. Before Chen Yuan could utter another word, Chen Jianheng's emotions had already spilled over. His voice was steady, but the more he spoke, the more it sounded like a confession. Ever since the day Father and Tang Yun decided to run away together, in just the blink of an eye, more than half a year had flown by as if it had never existed. One fine day, Tang Yun suddenly started vomiting uncontrollably.
A test confirmed it, one line, then two, clear as day.
From a simple yin life of planting vegetables in the morning and watching the moon at night, Father now found himself tangled in a web of complications. If they kept the baby, the world would rain curses upon them without mercy. If they didn't, he would regret it, knowing how difficult it would be to create another.
After much deliberation, they decided to keep it.
At this point, Chen Jianhong let out a long, heavy sigh before continuing, his words thick with turmoil. He recalled 22 years ago, when he and his wife had been married for just a year. Since your grandmother kept urging us to have a grandchild, we decided to get a fertility checkup at the town hospital.
Who would have thought? The doctor said that your mother couldn't get pregnant.
That news struck like a bolt of lightning. Your mother burst into tears, while your father was at a loss, not knowing what to do other than to comfort her.
That night, the rain poured down relentlessly, thunder roaring in the sky.
As we stood outside the hospital, we discovered an abandoned baby right at the gate, drenched in the rain. Your mother immediately scooped up the child, shielding them as if it were fate. We searched everywhere, posted notices for a whole week, but no one came forward to claim the baby. And so, your mother decided to adopt the child. That child was you, Chen Yuan. Those words dropped like a bomb, leaving Chen Yuan utterly frozen for a few seconds. He didn't know whether to be shocked, angry, or to laugh at the sheer absurdity of this earth-shattering truth. All this time, he had always believed himself to be the biological son of Chen Jianhong, even though their father-son relationship had never been particularly close. Suddenly discovering that I was a child picked up off the street, that feeling is truly indescribable. Chen Jianhong continued, his voice lowering as if to emphasize, even though we're not biologically related, your father has always treated you as his own. And he intended to keep this secret for life, thinking that since the three of us were a family, living peacefully together, there was no need to uncover your true origins. But now that your mother and I are planning to divorce, I feel you have the right to know the truth. Chen Yuan sat still, his empty eyes staring into an indefinite void.
In his mind, countless questions swirled in circles. Oh my God. So who exactly is my biological father? Where is my biological mother? Who am I? And where is this place? Thinking back, I realized that when I was little, there didn't seem to be anything unusual.
3 meals a day, well fed, and my clothes were no less than those of my friends.
Parents rarely scold their children, and even when they do, it never reaches the point of causing deep emotional wounds.
Back in the day, Mr. Wang considered Chen Jianhong his sworn brother. He trusted him so much that when he had to leave for business trips, he even entrusted his wife to his best friend for care.
But
Chen Jianhong didn't just take care of her, he took care of her heart as well. Thinking about how Mr. Wang spent 18 years raising a child, sweating and toiling, only to discover in the end that the true author was the neighbor.
I can't help but feel a little sympathetic.
Overwhelmed by emotions, Chen Yuan suddenly blurted out, "Alright, you all can sit here and keep talking."
Excuse me, but I need to go somewhere else. Trying to steady herself, afraid that Chen Yuan might collapse at any moment, Wang Mengmeng anxiously asked, "Are you okay, big bro?"
But Wang Mengmeng's greatest fear wasn't that the secret had been exposed. No, what terrified her the most was whether, after knowing the truth, he would become distant. That was the one thing in this world she dreaded above all else. Chen Yuan stood there and asked a question so calm it was infuriating.
Meng Meng, did you know all along? It was the ultimate question.
Wang Mengmeng stammered, her mouth trying to form words while her mind was in complete turmoil.
Brother, I never meant to deceive you, I was just scared.
But before she could finish her sentence, Chen Yuan cut in, not even giving her a chance to breathe.
Scared of what? Scared I wouldn't let you spend money? Or scared I wouldn't spoil you anymore? But he didn't stop there.
Chen Yuan started rewinding the tape in his mind, recalling the small details he had deliberately ignored all this time.
Oh, right.
The way Meng Meng looks at me, it's nothing like the way a little sister looks at her older brother.
There's no admiration in it, not even a little. If anything, it's overflowing with infatuation.
Before, I had always chosen to ignore it, to run away from those details, all while my mind was screaming.
Ha! What kind of messed up system is this? Did it actually pair me up with my own sister? Are there no other candidates left?
But in the end, I came to realize a certain truth.
No, the system wasn't wrong. The one at fault was me. After living together for so many years, I always thought we were real siblings, so I forced myself to suppress any improper thoughts.
But in the end, the truth was, there was no blood relation between us at all. Wang Mengmeng wanted to explain, but the words got stuck in her throat. She didn't know how to put them together properly. Seeing that she wasn't denying anything, Chen Yuan pressed on, as if afraid she wasn't heard enough. Meng Meng, all this time, I always thought you were a simple and pure person.
But what you did makes me see you as selfish, deceitful, and secretive, even with ulterior motives. Honestly, you don't have to do all that. Even if you're not my real sister, I would still be willing to spend money on you. But the thing I hate most is being lied to.
After speaking, Chen Yuan turned away, his face expressionless. Because to Chen Yuan, wrong is wrong, and this mistake had touched upon his fundamental principles.
No playing with LN.
If you're wrong, you take the hit, there's no room for pleading. Hearing this, Wang Mengmeng felt as if her heart had been punched, but she still clung to a sliver of hope. Brother, but I've been meaning to tell you for a long time, it's just that.
Chen Yuan cut her off instantly.
Just what? You had 100 chances, you didn't have to wait for a free day to confess.
If old Chen hadn't exposed you today, how much longer were you planning to keep it hidden? Or were you waiting for me to marry you first?
Finally, Chen Yuan delivered a cold, ruthless blow straight to Wang Mengmeng's heart. Don't call me brother.
I'm not your brother.
Hearing this, Wang Mengmeng turned pale, instinctively stepping back 3 steps. She looked at Chen Yuan as if wanting to say, please forgive me, but the words never came.
But Chen Yuan didn't care.
He was too angry, so angry that he threw all his emotions away just to vent.
Go. I don't want to see you again.
With that, Chen Yuan turned his back and walked away, leaving Wang Mengmeng standing frozen in place, tears streaming down her face faster than she could wipe them away. All the beautiful memories between them were now like soap bubbles, beautiful yet fragile, bursting with just the slightest touch. In the tense atmosphere, Chen Jianhan let out a long sigh and delivered a philosophical remark.
Come on, Meng Meng, little sweetheart, let's go. Let little Yuan sort out his emotions on his own.
He's a man sometimes, they don't need comfort. Just let him sit and reflect on life. And so, the 3 of them quietly walked out of the villa, each carrying a heavy heart full of sorrow. But before they could leave, they ran straight into Yuling Shuang.
Oh, Meng Meng, it's you? I just happened to have something to discuss with you, and I didn't expect to run into you like this. Even though Wang Meng Meng's mind was a mess, she still forced out a strained smile and asked, "What is it?" "Sister Yu?" Yu Ling Shuang put on a mysterious expression, waved her hand, and said, "Let's find somewhere to talk. This is something that will definitely shock you." Just a moment later, the four of them flocked into a nearby CAF. The atmosphere inside was quiet, with soft, melodious music playing, yet it couldn't drown out the curiosity burning inside Wang Meng Meng. She fidgeted restlessly, staring intently at Yu Ling Shuang, impatiently asking, "Sister Yu, what exactly do you want to talk about? Stop beating around the bush, I'm about to explode." Yu Ling Shuang curled her lips into a mysterious smile and pulled out a stack of documents from her briefcase. "Take a look at this first, then we'll talk." Wang Meng Meng took the papers and began reading, immediately feeling stunned. "Ha? Sister Yu, what is this? Why am I listed as a shareholder holding 10% of Fei Dunzibin's shares?" Yu Ling Shuang remained calm, as if this was nothing of significance, and casually explained, "That's right, there's no mistake. These are the shares that the boss set aside for you. You must have forgotten, haven't you? Back then, you used to hold shares in Fei Tian farmland. Later, Fei Tian merged with Dundee Group to become Fei Dunzibin, and your shares remained intact, they haven't lost a single bit." Wang Meng Meng, after hearing this, was still in a daze, her mind spinning as if she had just been thrown into a washing machine on the highest spin cycle. Before she could even regain her composure, Yu Ling Shuang struck again. "Right now, this conglomerate manages 37 subsidiaries across various industries, from real estate, television, tourism, hotels, fresh supermarkets, the stock market, pharmaceuticals, insurance, security companies, new energy vehicles, to even entertainment and gaming. And, by the way, 10% is not a small number, its value exceeds 100 billion. And this is just its current value, it might even grow significantly in the future." At that moment, Wang Meng Meng's brain finally started to connect the dots. Everything in front of her became clear. 100 billion, this wasn't a figure that an ordinary person could even fathom. It was so enormous that it could buy an entire small city, build dozens of mansions, purchase a fleet of supercars, and still have enough money to eat steak every day for 300 years. And so, the girl who had just cried over love now felt like crying again, but this time it was from the shock of suddenly becoming so wealthy. So, Chen Yuan had actually been preparing all of this for her all along. It's not just a few small gifts but an enormous fortune worth 1,000 billion, given away without hesitation, without requiring me to sign any commitment papers or confidentiality agreements. This isn't ordinary affection anymore, it's the pinnacle of boundless sacrifice. And then Wang Meng Meng burst into uncontrollable sobs, crying as if making up for all the times she'd suppressed her emotions. Tears flowed like rivers as she cried and blamed herself. "Brother, I've made you pay too much, and yet I deceived you. I even caused him to be hurt. To save me, he nearly lost his life in a shootout with the robbers in Las Vegas. To protect me, he mercilessly destroyed the entire Tycoon Li family corporation without a second thought about the consequences. For my career, he silently handed over 1,000 billion from Fei Dun Capital without ever seeking credit. All of this, he did just to protect and help me, while I selfishly only thought of myself. Brother, I'm sorry, truly sorry." Under the city lights, Chen Yuan stood quietly on the villa balcony. Puffing on a cigarette, he gazed at the sky, the earth, and his life altogether. "Every time I exhale smoke, I feel like my mood floats away with the smoke, but even after floating away, I still don't feel any better." Wait, did I sound too harsh? Honestly, I don't hate Meng Meng at all, I just sometimes like to polish my temperament a little to appear cold and hard to read. If it were other girls, I might even suspect they have some deep schemes, but with Meng Meng, I'm sure it's not that serious. After all, she's not the type to have any wicked intentions, and her face is so adorably clueless. Yet, my father is not really my father, and my mother is not really my mother. Then, I look at other families, 3 people happily gathered together, and suddenly, my heart feels an inexplicable frustration. Wait, who am I? Where did I come from? Am I the child of a rock? Or did the universe send me to the wrong address? The more I think about it, the more ridiculous it seems, but I can't help frowning,
feeling that this really is the biggest farce of my life. At that moment, a continuous King Kong sound suddenly rang in Chen Yuan's mind from the system.
Wang Meng Meng's favorability increased by 1, current favorability is 100 points. Kong.
Dog-licking subject Wang Meng Meng has been touched by the owner's reckless sacrifice, favorability has broken through 100 points, congratulations to the owner for successfully performing a reverse strike.
Kong.
Fourth dog-licking subject detected, receiving dog-licking points, all attributes rewarded plus 10, strengthening points rewarded plus 50.
Chen Yuan froze for a few seconds, then couldn't help but indulge in a bit of self-admiration. What is this?
Meng Meng has succeeded in her breakthrough again. Why is it that even though I scolded her so harshly, her affection for me skyrockets?
Something's wrong today. Could it be that I've wrongly blamed Meng Meng?
After all, she's just a little girl. The real issue is that her affection for me isn't just because she likes me, but because she's willing to do anything for me. Back at the CAF, Wang Meng Meng cried until she realized the truth. Indeed, there are things in this world that don't need any explanation, just let the feelings flow naturally to clear your mind. Her younger sister Xiaoyu handed her an entire pack of tissues, asking with suspicion, "Oh my god, Meng Meng, why are you crying so much?
Did something happen today?" Wang Meng Meng sniffled and replied, "It's nothing, sister you."
I'm just so touched, but the thing is, Wang Meng Meng flatly rejected it. These shares aren't mine, I can't accept them. From the beginning, I haven't contributed anything to the company, never earned a dime, and haven't helped in any way. So I can't take them, I need to return them to Chen Yuan. Indeed, there are people in this world who would make you Ling Shuang stare in disbelief. For others, 1,000 billion worth of shares would be a life-changing opportunity, a step toward becoming a female tycoon, rich beyond measure, walking down the street and fearing there wouldn't be enough room to count all the money. But for this girl, money was nothing compared to self-respect and sincere feelings.
Pushing and pulling back and forth was not the solution. Yu Ling Shuang asked seriously, "Have you thought this through?" Wang Meng Meng replied firmly, "I've thought it through.
If I accept this share, it's no different from deceiving Chen Yuan, brother. He treats me like a real sister and gives this to me, but I'm not his real sister, so isn't that just fraud? I can't accept something that doesn't belong to me."
No, definitely not.
Meanwhile, Chen Jianhong and Tang Yin were exchanging glances, their eyes locked in a subtle, meaningful stare. Then, Tang Yin furrowed his brow, looking sharp. "Mr. Chen, looks like Meng Meng is getting tangled up with that little cheat." Chen Jianhong nodded in agreement, his face serious. "Exactly.
If Meng Meng truly likes little Chen, then this would be simpler.
The adopted child becomes the son-in-law, the bond gets even stronger, it makes perfect sense."
It's decided, I'll handle everything. Even though little Chen isn't my biological son, having raised him for over 20 years, what's the difference? Actually, thinking about it, there's nothing scary about this at all. They're not connected by blood anyway. So it's fine.
From now on, no need to call her the adopted daughter or the temporary little sister, just call her the daughter-in-law to keep it simple. Not only that, Chen Jianhong had already come up with a name for the future grandchild. As soon as he heard this globally shocking news, Park Young-jae's expression changed instantly. His eyes flashed with a fierce glint.
What? A plane crashed into the group headquarters? Assistant, are you sure?
The assistant immediately confirmed, his voice serious but unable to hide his excitement.
Confirmed, sir. The news is 100% accurate.
The chairman has just gone to meet the ancestors, which means you will become the new chairman of Samsung. At that very moment, the TV was also broadcasting the news. According to reports, the ill-fated plane departed from Los Angeles and was hijacked by two terrorists before ultimately crashing straight into Samsung Group headquarters. According to information provided by the police, these two women are not only stunningly beautiful but also extremely dangerous, possessing top-tier escape skills. After causing the tragic plane crash at Samsung headquarters, both vanished without a trace, forcing authorities to launch an extensive search. After watching the news, instead of shedding a single tear of grief like any other dutiful nephew, Park Young-jae beamed and shouted excitedly. Good, good. I've been waiting for this day for so long. He said, and his inner self was soaring. At first, I thought I would have to wait another 20 years to have a chance to seize power, because that old man was so tough, refusing to die. Who would have thought that fate would send a lost plane straight to our headquarters? At that moment, it felt like I was winning without even trying. No need for schemes, no need for fighting, just waiting for the plane to crash in the right spot, and it's done. Truly lucky. The assistant also laughed in a flattering way. Congratulations, congratulations. Samsung is now yours. Park Young-jae, upon hearing this, looked brighter than a sunflower in the morning sun. Wonderful, let's go. I can't wait another second. But just as the assistant was packing the suitcase, Park Young-jae turned around, lit a cigarette, and tried to look menacing, his eyes staring into the void. Chen Yuan, wait for it. When I become the chairman of Samsung, I will return like a king and slap you in the face myself. Let's see if you can handle it. The assistant, seeing this, winked and said mysteriously, Young master, this is an urgent matter. You need to hurry back to Nation K to inherit the position of chairman of Samsung Group. The assistant continued, don't leave the seat empty for too long, or dust will pile up. And about that Chen Yuan who dared to tarnish your reputation, if you're so angry that you can't swallow your frustration, I have a quick fix for you. In the underground world, there's a dark website that specializes in global hitman services. As long as you have money and you have more than enough to light up the whole city, just set the price, and I guarantee someone will take the contract and eliminate your opponent swiftly. Finishing his words, the assistant sneered, took out his phone, and accessed the website called Assassination. Park Young-jae grabbed the phone, curious, and asked, I've heard rumors about this assassination before, but I never knew how to get into that dark place. Standing next to him, the assistant pointed with his hand and said, Young master, don't worry. A few days ago, I accidentally found the secret way to access it. All you need to do is post a request for a hitman, and you won't have to dirty your hands yourself. Just pay, and the tough work will be taken care of for you. Park Young-jae had never experienced this feeling before, and was a little scared. Have I ever done anything shady? Have I ever used my connections to throw an enemy in jail, sentencing them to 10 years behind bars like it was nothing? Have I ever personally broken someone's leg, with a cold face as if nothing happened? But killing someone? That's a completely different matter. But just thinking about the annoying face of Chen Yuan, the one who had humiliated him in front of everyone, making him feel so embarrassed he wanted to dig a hole and hide, all his hesitation vanished. What hurts the most? It's the time I chased after Miss Dai with Yu Ling Shuang. And yet, both of them ended up with that guy. And the smear campaign against me online. I thought that would be the last straw for Chen Yuan, but he stayed firm like a rock. On top of that, all the negative news was wiped clean. Thinking about that, Park Young-jae's eyes suddenly glinted with a cold, sharp look, as if an ice cube had dropped into a cup of tea, and his blood boiled with fury. Without a second thought, like someone casually shopping for vegetables, he loaded 10 billion into his assassination account. Then, thinking about the scene of Chen Yuan fleeing, Park Young-jae chuckled, laughing at how rich he felt, to the point of being sick of it. Chen Yuan, write a will. With this amount of money, it's sure to stir up the whole international assassin world. Let's see you run away now, Chen Yuan. From now on, you'll have to dodge bullets every day, and at night, you'll have to hide in the wardrobe because you'll be afraid of assassins hiding under the bed. After reading this mission, some assassins sat, shaking their legs and mocking, almost choking on their laughter. Oh my god, who's brain dead enough to do this? They're offering a bounty for Smoke CEO's head, and it's only 1,500,000 dark coins? They might as well save that money to buy a villa. Assassinating Smoke CEO? This mission's difficulty is higher than even an SSS level, and going out might mean you never come back. Don't joke around, even the top global assassin Bloody Shuton couldn't do it. Mr. X, the former leader of the Darknet, tried it too, but now he has to hide, scared wherever he goes, fearing Smoke CEO. Who has time to throw their life away for that money? Then another assassin shook his head and sighed. This really is a joke at the start of the year. The other assassin continued, End of Days reincarnation tried to assassinate Smoke CEO and failed miserably, then went home, wrapped himself in a blanket and cried. School and Bone played it bigger, bringing dozens of rockets to destroy the entire Manhwa district, and yet Smoke CEO still stood firm like a bronze statue. And now some fool has put up a bounty of 1,500,000 dark coins, planning to hire a beggar or what? And so, the entire group of assassins burst out laughing, spitting as if to express their utter disdain. Meanwhile, Park Young-jae was still sitting, waiting for the job, but no matter how long he waited, the mission just sat there like an unsold piece of BNHCHing after TT. What's going on? Why isn't anyone taking the bounty? Don't tell me they're scared. At this moment, Chen Yuan had just opened his eyes, still not even done brushing his teeth, when Wang Kai started shouting, waking him up fully. Master, someone just posted a bounty of 500 million, equivalent to 1,500,000 dark coins, to hunt you down. This mission could pose a threat to your safety. Should I take care of it? Cut it off right away for you? Chen Yuan picked up his phone to check, his face filled with question marks. There's this too? Let me see who the hell has the guts to do this. Chen Yuan lazily stood up, walking straight to the basement where the super powerful computers were located. He sat down in the chair, raised an eyebrow, and asked, who dares to put a bounty on my head like this? But these petty tricks were no match for Wang Kai. It scanned everything in an instant, tracing both the payment logs and the hidden IP address, then locked onto the target in a matter of seconds. Master, the payment task is from Nation K, with the account under Samsung Financial Group. Based on the network traces, I've locked down the origin of the task to Mei Yuan. Please wait a moment, I'm scanning global data to filter out the specific identity. After hearing this, Chen Yuan smirked lightly and added a few sarcastic remarks to pass the time. No need, I already know. Nation K, Samsung, has money and a grudge against me. If it's not Prince Park Young-jae, then who else could it be? At that moment, Wang Kai also reported some news from earlier that morning. Master, around 8 a.m., a passenger plane lost control and crashed directly into the Samsung Group headquarters. Among the passengers was the financial chairman of Samsung, the elder tycoon of Nation K. After hearing that, Chen Yuan stood frozen for 3 seconds, then shook his head in exasperation. Wasn't the president of Samsung just killed by a plane crash? It's unbelievable, his family just died, and he's not even bothered to attend the funeral, still in the mood to put up a bounty for an assassination. This guy must have something wrong with his brain. Just as Chen Yuan was still thinking about whether to send a thank you note, the assassination app popped up with a new mission, hot off the press. Assassinate Park Young-jae, the Prince of Samsung, with a reward of 2 million dark coins, along with 3 photos featuring divine angles. Chen Yuan squinted at the screen and then asked Wang Kai, wait, did you post this? Wang Kai replied, Master, it wasn't me. This mission is real, someone else posted it, not me being reckless. Chen Yuan couldn't help but laugh lightly. What a strange coincidence. Looks like someone doesn't want the prince to smoothly inherit the Samsung family fortune. The rich world is just like those long TV dramas. Internal power struggles are never short on drama. After thinking for a moment, Chen Yuan remembered Bei Chen. By the way, since we're free, let's put Bei Chen's name on the board. I heard it's been hiding and sneaking around, right? Let's put a bounty of 100 million dark coins on it for some extra drama. Wang Kai quickly replied, understood, Master. I will post the mission right now. As soon as the assassination mission for Bei Chen was posted on assassination with a massive bounty of 100 million dark coins, the entire assassin world immediately fell into a state of shock. 100 million dark coins, that's about $58 billion. That's enough to buy an entire army. In less than 5 minutes, 10,000 assassins from around the world had viewed the information. On the other side of the story, at Zhangchang Group, in a villa at Meiyuan, Bei Chen was meditating when he suddenly sneezed loudly, feeling confused as to why it felt like thousands of eyes were watching him. And after a day of recuperation, he praised himself, thank heavens, this time I brought the secret medicine. This pill is the crystallization of hundreds of rare herbs. My injuries have improved quite a bit, but wounds like these, no matter how miraculous the medicine, can't heal in an instant. Torn tendons and fractured bones take at least several months at a rough estimate. I'll need a few more rounds of specialized spa therapy before I can regain my full form.
Well, I'd better be sensible and hold off on fighting for now. Once I'm fully recovered, I'll settle the score. By then, just hearing my name will be enough to make Chen Yuan tremble in fear.
At that moment, a series of urgent knocks echoed through the door, carrying an unmistakable sense of trouble.
Beichen Medicine King furrowed his brows, his voice lowering. "Who's there?"